Hey, happy Monday to all of my friends all across Alberta, all across rural Alberta. Becoming a community builder. All right, program's winding down. We've only got a few more weeks left. And in about 4 weeks, I'll be in your community celebrating your success and the success of the other participants. What are we talking about this week? We're talking about pride. From the beginning, we've discussed this idea that today's leader knows how to marshal human capital. Remember all those arrows? And knows how to marshal human capital towards a common goal. What's human capital? Love and commitment and innovation and creativity and pride. Other than love, I think pride is the strongest form of human capital that I know of. Now, I'm not talking about arrogance. I'm talking about a deep care that manifests itself in hard work and effort and energy, where somebody takes ownership. Remember that a catalyst for responsibility knows how to get others to take responsibility and ownership. Well, a big part of that is knowing how to instill, cultivate, and deploy pride. Over the next few days, we're going to talk about within the context, we're going to talk about the installation, the cultivation, and the deployment of pride, both within an organization. How do I build that within an organization? How do I build organizational pride? How do I build individual pride? And how do I build community pride? I'll give you tangible strategies for each one. Today, let's talk about organizational pride. How do we build organizational pride in just a few steps? First of all, to build great organizational pride, you better be able to articulate the why behind the organization. There's no proverb that says, where there is no vision, people perish. Now, I think you take that comment out of the religious context. I would think what the writer was saying was this: if I don't know why I'm doing something, or why what we're doing is important, or why it's meaningful, then I don't care. I won't take pride. So if you're in a company, why is what the organization, the company does meaningful, important? How does it bring value to customers and value to the community? And if you can't answer that as an organizational leader, maybe you should think that through. People aren't going to take pride in a company that just makes money. You've got to be able to break down as a company why what you do is of value financially, a value morally, a value socially. The more values that you can show, the more value that you bring at multi-level, socially, morally, financially, impact in the community. When you're able to do that, an individual employee says, wow, I'm proud to work here. All right, what about in a nonprofit or a social profit organization? Well, you've got to be able to show the value that you bring, the difference that you make in clients in a real and meaningful way, the difference that you make in the community in a real and meaningful way, the difference that you make. So being able to articulate that difference is incredibly important. Being able to clarify the why. In a governmental entity, hey, well, in a governmental entity, in a municipality, you touch every citizen from cradle to grave. That should be very easy to show the value or the why. So it's important that as organizational leaders, whether we're on a nonprofit board, whether we're the general manager of a company or mid-level leader of a company, or frankly, whether we're an elected official, we've got to be able to show the people within our organization, paid or volunteer, why what we do is important and how it has value. Then we've got to be able to regularly reinforce that. Now, how could we do that? Well, one way we could do that is the beginning of every year. You gather all of the stakeholders together and remind them of why we do what we do and how it is of value and important to others. And you could do that if you're in a company in group meetings. Hey, everybody, this is why what we do is important. Here's the impact that we have financially. Here's the impact that we have in the community. Here's the impact that we have socially and morally. Here's the difference that we are. See, without that differentiation, no one's going to think to be proud. And if I don't regularly reinforce it, so this is a perfect time of the year. If I'm in a municipality, I did this with the City of London. Jeff Fielding was the CAO at the time. At the City of London, we met with every employee. Every single employee spent 2 hours with them sharing the importance of their work, the value of the difference that they make, touching every citizen from cradle to grave and the like. If you're in a nonprofit, maybe it's that you gather all the volunteers together for a year beginning launch where we talk about the difference that we made last year and what we plan to do this year. If I don't regularly reinforce that by one, kicking things off, and then doing something, maybe it's a newsletter, maybe it's a YouTube video, something that I can remind people of on a regular basis, reinforcing or evangelizing that message, value of what we're doing as an organization, value of what we're doing as a municipality, value of what we're doing as a company, never coming off of that messaging. Then, and this is critical, then we've got to be able to explain why we're good at that important stuff. See, it's not enough to say to somebody, hey, what we're doing is really important, or what you're doing has significant value, or what you're doing, we as an organization, it makes a significant impact, company, nonprofit, municipality. You got to then be able to show why we're any good at that important work. See, if you can't show somebody how we're good at it, they say, yeah, the work's important, but we're no good. Yeah, that's really important work if we did it right. Yeah, we could really make a difference, but we suck. So we have to have some measurement tools. I'm just looking at my notes here. We have to have some ways of measuring that. So how are you measuring success within your company? And how are you regularly sharing that with your people? How are you measuring success within your nonprofit? And how are you regularly sharing that with volunteers and staff? How are we measuring success in the municipality and our municipal governments? And how are we regularly sharing that with staff and citizenry? We want people to take pride in the organization, give them something to be proud of by first defining that the work that they do is important, secondly, showing how they're good at that work, and then measuring that. There's something powerful that happens. There's a certain amount of alignment that happens when we do that. The regular communication of how we're measuring up could be in the following forms. I used to have a big board, a scoreboard, and it's just a big, tack board, if you will, where I would post how we were doing on our goals. Now, the easiest one for some of your companies is safety, right? How are we doing on safety? We've had no accidents in 194 days. You could also be where you post customer comments. It could also be where we show that we've exceeded financial goals or service goals. In a nonprofit, it could be the number of people that we've served effectively, or how we've kept the budget down to work on a tight shoestring budget. In a municipality, you could utilize some of the same approaches. What I would say is this: how did we increase performance, service, whatever, revenue? How did we decrease expenses? And what were the good comments that came in both internally or externally? That's what goes up on that board. Pride comes from me seeing that somebody's doing something good. Now, what I mean by that is that there can be vicarious pride. I hear of somebody else doing something good within my organization, so I'm proud to work for the place. How are you regularly communicating that? One could be a big board. That's simple. You know, another one could be simple e-newsletter. A simple e-newsletter that goes out every month that talks about how we're doing. We do important work, socially, morally, financially, we're important. And, oh, by the way, here's how we measure whether we're any good at it, and here I'm regularly updating you. So when you do that kickoff meeting, they'll know that they're going to be regularly updated. And whether that's with the board, whether that's with an e-newsletter, how about this? How about just a YouTube video? If you're an executive leader watching this right now, or you're a board member, how about just a YouTube video that goes out to all of your stakeholders that says, here's what we're doing great, here's what we're on, here's how we're on track to reaching our goals, here's how we're measuring up. Now, what does all of that do? What all that does is make me say, wow, our organization, business, social profit, government, does some important stuff. And we have value that we bring. I'm a part of something that brings value. And now I'm being told how we're bringing value regularly. And I'm seeing that not only am I, but others are doing cool things regularly. What does that do? That makes me proud of who I work for, or proud of who I volunteer with, or proud of the town I live in. Why should somebody be proud to work with you, for you, or be a volunteer with you? Have you explained that the work is important and what you do is important? Have you explained how you measure up and why you do the important work well? And do you regularly communicate that in multiple ways? I hope you'll thoughtfully consider it. Tomorrow we'll talk about building an individual pride. Take care, everybody.